Welcome to an hour of Healthmade Radio. Healthmade is a community for natural health seekers where we educate people about common health conditions and share extensive research on the most effective natural health treatments and promote legislation that protects our health freedoms. A core concept belief is in the innate intelligence and healing power of the body, and if properly supported spiritually, emotionally, and nutritionally, it can find its way back to health. Healthmade Radio will bring information from integrative health experts throughout the world. Health is what you make it. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt, and I will be your host. Today's guest is Dave Roever. Dave Roever is an American hero, a Vietnam veteran of solid character, and a recipient of the Purple Heart. At the height of the Vietnam War, he joined the U.S. Navy and served as a river boat gunner in the elite Brown Water Black Beret until tragedy occurred. His survival and ensuing life with his faithful wife, Brenda, at his side are miraculous. A superb multi-generational communicator, Dave Roever travels the globe speaking in churches, national conventions, public schools, and doing training for the U.S. military. With engaging humor, he shares his gripping stories, I know because I listen to him, impacting hope in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles. He exemplifies a life of triumph. Mr. Roever and his team reach out to the people of Vietnam and other nations via multiple projects. Since 2007, at Two Eagle Summit Ranches in Colorado and South Texas, Dave Roever and his team help to restore hope and train today's wounded warriors to have meaningful futures through Operation Warrior Reconnect. Dave, it's so amazing to have you on the show, and it's so fitting. I get to listen to you at church just a couple of Sundays ago, and I thought that this gentleman, at such a time that we're dealing with now, we need this kind of hope and this spirit that you're bringing. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Well, thank you, Dr. Michael. It's an absolute privilege. And I got to tell you, I had the time of my life at that church. And I was in Boise even before that, a couple of weeks before that, and then over to Salt Lake City, Layton, Utah, actually, and just enjoyed the western state of Idaho. Oh, my goodness, what a treat. And while you call me Dave Roever, everybody does, but I'm a German, and believe it or not, my name is spelled Roever. I get called Roever, I get called Revere, I get called Rover, but I seldom ever called, and literally by my actual pronunciation, which is Reaver. The O is silent. I think Grandpa got drunk one day, and he just changed it for meanness. But it's a treat to be with you, Dr. Michael. Thank you. And an opportunity to address your audience is truly an honor for me.
Well, thank you so much for that. I mean, we are dealing with people that we have this virus that started in China, and the kind of legislative actions have really created a lot of fear, and a lot of people are losing their businesses. They're losing hope. They are having, you see the suicide rates is increasing. The alcohol consumption is increasing. The usage of antidepressants and other psychotropic drugs are increasing. And so this is a time where people really need to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And can you tell me a little bit about what do you have to say for them with what they're going through right now?
Well, I can tell you, I'm biblically based in my philosophy and theology, and that is that hundreds of times the Bible makes a statement, fear not. But for every time there's the statement, fear not, there's also the follow-up, for I am with thee, which is saying, don't be afraid, deal with what you deal with, but don't operate out of fear, operate out of faith, because fear is the opposite of faith. And faith lets you just behave as though it's not a problem. But faith only operates, Dr. Michael, it only operates in adversity. And boy, do we have some serious adversity in America today. It's exposing itself in all kinds of social revelations of cracks in the foundation. And my heart goes out to all of those who have been hurt over the years, who are being hurt today, for the misconstruing of riots as though they were protesters. And this is pent-up anger. And one of the most serious consequences, Dr. Michael, that I've seen come out of this COVID virus restricted travel and shelter in place, I call it basically house arrest. And I don't mean to trivialize it, but that's what it feels like if I were thinking what house arrest must feel like. But you know what one of the most serious issues is? And Doc, before it ever exposed itself, I told my wife, I said, baby, the big problem I see coming that will hurt the most is child abuse in the home. These kids go home and they can't get out of the house, and an abusive adult, it could be a brother, it could be an uncle, it most likely is a father, least likely but still possible a mother, but someone they trust will turn against them in these terribly difficult situations. And today, the Secretary of Education made the statement, one of the most serious consequences coming out of COVID-19 is the abuse of children in homes during the shelter in place. Not to mention all the others are to think they're not important. Oh my goodness. All of these social stress factors are breaking down under the pressure. And Doc, you've got answers. You've got solutions, sir. And in the work you do, you're a huge blessing to all of those that are your clients. And I just pray that God will keep giving you wisdom and knowledge and ability to apply all of that into the lives of those that are coming to you for help.
Well, thank you, and right back at you with everything that you're doing. And I know that you recently created a series called The Truth, and this is something that with information going back and forth, should we wear masks, shouldn't we wear masks, is it safe to travel, is this dangerous, is it like the flu, is it not like the flu? So you have the information creating the confusion. Watching TV, you get more and more confused when you're listening to the media. So how does people find truth within all that? Do they get wrapped into this, or where should they go to really kind of center themselves and find that truth?
Well, sequestering yourself spiritually is to get along with God, to meditate, to think about what is God trying to say to us. And a lot of people, I remember when I was a young boy, my dad was a pastor, and a young lady came to him and said, would you please, handed him a pencil and paper and said, would you please write down all the things I can do and can't do so that I don't make mistakes in life? He said, oh, you know what? I've already got it written down. She said, you do? And he handed her a New Testament. And he said, read this. It'll tell you all you need to know. Well, you know what? It is true that the Word of God will give us answers in times of great suffering, in times of great confusion, and in times of fear. I have clients like you do. My clients are wounded, devastated, active duty warriors. A lot of people think, well, the war's over. You don't have any more of those. Negative. I'm telling you right now, one of the big issues is that there are men and women serving today that are being wounded in the war that no one's talking about behind the scenes in countries nobody's being told we have troops in. I'm getting them in my program still. Number two, you get hurt 10 years ago and you're still struggling with it. Look at some of our Vietnam veterans, especially in the area of post-traumatic stress disorder. It's been 50 years and they're still struggling even worse than when they started. So what do I do to answer your question directly? Number one, I listen. Listening is the most important thing I do. What good am I to give advice or counsel if I don't know what the problem is? And you do that too, sir. That's, if you couldn't hear what they're saying, you couldn't give them solutions. So I listen carefully. Today we need to listen to what society and what frightened people are saying, and then respond in the area of faith, faith-based ministries. I guess if it's a ministry, it's automatically faith-based. But our program to our warriors, it's called Operation Warrior Reconnect. It's faith-based, and we have the Department of Defense sending us warriors on active duty because we have such a very high rate of success in getting our young men and women back. Our motto is, you come with no legs, we'll get you back on your feet. And we do. And it's an emotional and a spiritual challenge. And we've never shrunk from that challenge, Doctor. And I thank God for the privilege to serve my country a second time.
So when you have somebody that's coming into your program and it looks like their spirit is just beaten down, everything is it's just hit them way too hard, and they have no idea how to create a vision forward. What are some of the first steps, the first things that you do to help this individual?
Well, the first thing is making contact. If we can't make contact, of course, it's like fishing without a hook. So we make contact through the hospitals in the Department of Defense. And my primary hospitals are Brooke Army Medical Center and Walter Reed, Bethesda Walter Reed. And these hospitals provide so many of our freshly wounded or those that are still undergoing serious care 2 and 3 years after their original injury. So contact's the first thing. Second thing is get that invitation to them to understand they come at no cost. There is not a penny ever charged against our government or military or warrior. I cover everything, and American Airlines is one of my biggest supporters, and they give me millions and millions of air miles, not for me, but for my troops, so that I can bring them in at no cost in airline travel. And then Hobby Lobby supports us with building facilities on our ranches. I have great support from the largest of all my supporters, Banker Insurance in Fort Worth, Texas. These are people that allow me to do what I do, and I get them on the property. Then the next thing, once they're there, they're very awkward to start with, and we're very remote. Remoteness is judged by how far it is to the nearest Walmart. That's how you determine how remote you are. We're an hour from Walmart at both ranches. So the one in Texas is an hour from the Walmart in Kerrville, Texas, and for Colorado, it's an hour to Canyon City. So we're way out in the bushes. And the military told me, don't take them to a place that they've been to. Take them to some place they've never been. In other words, get them out of the installations, get them out of the institutions, get them out of the theater buildings or whatever hotel ballroom it is for a big event. Get them isolated. And Dr. Michael, once they're isolated and it's one-on-one, they look at me, and my face, you know me, my face was blown off me. It's put back on. They actually wanted to do a total face transplant. I denied that because the guy they wanted to give me, his face was uglier than I was. So I said, no way. But they see my scars, Dr. Michael. And when they see my scars, this is what they all say, he knows how I feel. And that has been, for me, the strongest appeal. And once they see me and we start talking, they open up. And the key to success begins when they open their mouth and they start talking, and I open my ears and my heart, and I start listening, and it changes. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
It changes everything. Once they start spilling out, vomiting up all the hatred, the bitterness, the revenge, the things done against them that weren't fair, the things that were done against them after they got home. Oh, Lord, for Vietnam veterans, they were called baby killers. For our young warriors coming back, everybody wants to buy them a cup of coffee. But when they say, I know how you feel, they cut themselves off from that veteran instantly. That man has no more, that woman has no more time to listen to what they say, because if they've not been there, done that, they don't know how they feel. But when those people look at me and they know, and I was a special operator in the U.S. Navy. I was a brown water black beret. I was trained by a Navy SEAL, went to Vietnam with SEAL Team 1, was injured with SEAL Team 1, but I was not a SEAL. I was the boat operator. I drove the super fast boats for the SEALs in and out of combat. And I loved my job. But whenever I sit down with a special operator in the Army, Navy, Marines, wherever, whoever, they all sit back and listen to every word, because they know I have a scar to prove what I say. And that's how we reach them, sir. Long answer to a short question.
Yeah, that's such a powerful lesson. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Healthmade Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Dave Roever. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Healthmade Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Dave Roever. Dave, you are a one-star general. Is that correct?
I am with the DOD, but not with my military history. In the Department of Defense, they rate you, and they used to, and I think now more lately, you're called a VIP, very important person, because 1 star to 4 stars when you're working with DOD only means, for me, that I have access to all the general staff. So they made me an 07, which is a 1-star general, but that it does not carry with it any authority to give orders or make commands, but it gives me the opportunity when I land, when my helicopter flies in land, I'm not greeted by anybody less than 1 star. And it's been a great advantage in this respect. People give me more respect to listen to what I say because I'm working with the general staff and not the enlisted. Now, enlisted, called E9, is the highest rank you can get with the enlisted. Even the 4-star generals listen to those guys. So I'm not in any way discrediting the enlisted, but it's the orders that come from above that I work with. And so I'm a master resiliency trainer with the Comprehensive Soldier Family Fitness Program for the Department of Defense, and I work with all 4 branches, and I work in areas in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Bosnia, Kosovo, North Africa, South Korea, Japan, Okinawa. I can go on and on. All these countries they send me to train in resiliency, how to bounce back from great disappointment, great injury, great loss of a friend, or loss of a limb. And the reason they call me is because I went through what I went through when a hand grenade blew the whole side of my face off, and I took 2nd-degree burns on the left side of my face and 3rd-degree burns over 50% of my waist up. And I'm mutilated. You saw me. From my waist up, almost all my skin was blown off. And so today I have an artificial ear, I have a hairpiece, and I don't mind the hairpiece. I think you may have heard me tell the story about the time it was blown off in Vietnam compared to the time it was blown off in South Carolina in a high wind, and I'm chasing across the parking lot, and a stinking dog beat me to it and brought it to me. It's one of the funniest moments of my life, one of them. The other funny moment, Dr. Michael, is when my ear fell off when I was speaking, and I was speaking down in Jamaica. It was real hot, and I was sweating, and sweat got under my ear, and it broke the bond, and my ear landed on my shoulder, and I didn't feel it. It's like a wet Band-Aid. You don't feel it sliding off. Everybody's covering their mouth. Their eyes are big, and they're sucking air like a Hoover pointing at me. And I didn't know what happened. I thought maybe my fly was down. I checked my fly. Everything's good. And then I looked around, and when I did, out of the corner of my eye, I saw my ear laying on my shoulder. Lord of mercy. I stuck it back on, thought that would help. It got worse. They all thought it was a miracle, and they got religion that night. So I can tell you, Dr. Michael, one of the greatest things that God has ever given me is he gave me a merry heart, a heart that loves to be funny and loves humor. And that has been my greatest healer, and that's been my greatest means of connecting with broken warriors all over the world or at our assigned ranches here in the United States.
I mean, yeah, I know your heart now and your spirit now. I mean, it's just incredible. What I'm wondering, was it always like this? I mean, it must have been coming home, being completely mutilated. You're just newly married. And so you had a young wife waiting for you, and here you're coming back in this condition. I mean, that must have been. That couldn't have been easy.
Dr. Michael, you have hit the nail on the head. It wasn't easy. I remember when I kissed her goodbye, and I went to Vietnam. She was a teenager. I asked her to marry me when she was 13 years old, and of course she slapped me. She said, "I'm only 13." I said, "Well, she had the body of a 14-year-old. She slapped me again. So we got married when she graduated from high school, and I kissed her goodbye at the airport, And I remember the salt of her tears on my lips to this day. And I promised her, she said, are you coming back? And I said, I'll be back without a scar. I don't know why I said that, except maybe God was helping me to articulate the thought that if I came back at all, I would not be the man that looked like what she married. And it was unfortunately very, very true. I came back a freak and a monster. The side of my face not burned was swollen to the width of my shoulder, not burned third degree, was swollen to my shoulder in second degree burn. And that skin was just barely enough skin cells left to grow back. And even it's not perfectly normal, but the right almost 3/4 of my head was blown off to the bone. And I remember the day that sniper shot me and blew that grenade and set me on fire. I remember thinking, dear God, what has happened? I broke my promise. I told her I'd be back without a scar. But Dr. Michael, I got back. And most of our guys knew the statistics. When I told her I'd be back without a scar, I already knew we had the highest killed in action per capita of any organization in the war. We were a very small group, but we lost so many guys. They used anti-tank rockets against our fiberglass high-speed boats. Our only defense was speed. And then if they got lucky and hit us, the boat would just turn to white powder, and the engines would go down, and the crew, 4-man crew on each boat, we traveled in groups of 2 only. And when those boats would go up in powder, we would all die. My boat was not hit by rocket. We were hit by small arms fire and 51 caliber. Actually, if anybody had been there would know what I mean, 51 caliber. But they got us. They got me that day. And from that point, I had every reason to believe there's no teenage girl in the world that can love a freak and a half-headed monster like me. And Doc, I'm so ashamed to say this, but when they hauled me out of Vietnam on a big airplane, they took me to Japan and took my last will and testament. They didn't want me dying in Vietnam. They wanted me to pass while I was in Japan. And I asked them for a mirror, and they brought it. I was wrong to ask, and they were wrong to bring it. And I looked up in the glass. I saw what was left. What I did next, I'm ashamed. But I knew she could love me. I knew it. And I knew she'd turn around and walk out. And so I decided I don't want them opening my casket. I don't want them to see this freak. And they walked away with the mirror. They walked away with my hope. And I did something I shouldn't have done. I tried to kill myself. I didn't have a gun or a knife, but I pulled the tube out. And I laid my head back, and I waited to die. And I waited, and I waited, and I got hungry, which is not a good time to get hungry if you're trying to kill yourself. And I laughed at myself. I thought, well, you know what? That's not my life dripping on the floor. That's my lunch. I'll eat, and then I'll kill myself some other time. And God brought me back from the brink of death by suicide by using humor. I laughed at myself. But when I got home, and they put me at Brooke Army Medical Center, and she walked in. She was the second one in. The first one in was a woman who walked up to the bed of the guy beside me who was burned 100% third degree. We were in a room to die. They didn't want us dying in the open ward. They put us in that room to die so we wouldn't discourage the other patients that had a chance. And he would die first. And she walked up to his bed, took off her wedding ring, and that woman said out loud, "You're embarrassing. I couldn't walk down the street with you." She turned around and walked out, and he died. His last hope was found in her, and she failed him. Now, a little teenager standing out there, ripe old age, just turned 19. She walks up to my bed, looks at me, and I'm waiting for those words. "You're a freak. You're a monster. I'm embarrassed. I can't look at you." Instead, she bent down and kissed what was left of my mutilated, charred face, looked me in my good eye, and she said, and I quote verbatim, "Welcome home, Davy." Good Lord. I thought I have died and gone to heaven. And that was 50 years ago, and we're still married and still going strong. What do you think of that, Dr. Michael?
I think that is incredible. I mean, that is and that shows. I mean, that shows how important that contact is. Like we were talking, first you make a contact with the individual, and you connect with that individual, and how important that contact is. And without that contact, your beautiful wife coming to you and connecting with you, you would just be out there by yourself and not be able to have that power, to drive you forward.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well,
Doc, I can tell you, I fought to keep her. I had 3 people try to take my wife away from me. 3 men that thought I was either too ugly or too far gone and would die, and they lined up to take my wife away from me. She was a gorgeous teenager, a gorgeous 20s, 30s. She's still gorgeous to me, but we got a little older along the way. But I'm telling you, she's a beautiful woman to this day. And they tried to take her, and in my hospital bed, I was threatening one of my medics who was trying to take her away from me. I said, "You touch her and I'll kill you." What am I going to do, beat him to death with a rubber hose? I don't know. But it scared the guy so bad he left and transferred off that ward. I defended my wife, and I kept her all these years. I couldn't have made it without her, and I love her. I love her. I love her. A great friend and a great wife.
Oh, that's so beautiful. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Healthmade Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Dave Roever. He's a true national hero. He's received multiple awards, including Purple Heart Medal, and also the Outstanding Civilian Service Medal from the U.S. Department of Army, along with a long list of other medals. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back to Healthmade Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I am here with war hero Dave Roever, and we're talking about resilience, how to fight through times where things seem insurmountable, where we just don't see a way out. And Dave, you truly, I mean, you were in a place where, I mean, there's really, how do you see a way out of that? And you had your beautiful wife come and give you that little spark, that little light, that you can grab onto, and so you have something to hold on to. But that, I mean, still, the journey was not done. I mean, you still had a long journey ahead of you. So how did you, I mean, what transpired, mentally, emotionally? How did you fortify yourself and get through all of this?
Well, for one thing, I did have my wife, Dr. Michael. She was there every day during my recovery initially, and I have had, as of about 4 months ago was my last surgery, and I've had 60 major operations. Operation number 50 lasted 12 hours with 3 teams of doctors trying to totally rebuild my face, my neck, my eye, my right eye. I didn't have eyelids. My nose had been blown off for all those years. I have a nose now, and you saw I'm so proud of it. It's a boy, I tell everybody. It was born at Brooke Army Medical Center 3 years ago. But they've been putting me back together all these years. But I can tell you what makes the difference every day is my wife. I never, ever go to bed at night. If I'm gone, I don't go to bed at night without the last thing I do. I text her, I call her, or if I'm at home, the last word she hears before she drifts off to sleep is, "Baby, I love you." And that is something that has kept us together all these years. I always reaffirm my love for her and she for me. And the other thing, Doc, that really holds me together is I'm a man of purpose. I have so much I'm trying to do in my lifetime that I don't have time to sit around and feel sorry for myself. I've never taken a drug illegally. I've had pain medication through the IV and shots and pills that after surgeries, whenever they would just take my body apart and put it back together, it hurt so bad. I thanked God for those pain medications. But I've never abused a drug. I've never smoked a joint. I've never put a needle in my vein or taken a pill to get high. I only tasted alcohol once. My brother-in-law gave it to me, and it was so bad I threw up. And I told him there was something dead in that can, and he laughed. I thought I was drinking something dead. But I've never relied on self-medicating. I guess the best way to put that. I have relied on Jesus. And I'm not going to pull the wool over anybody's eye. I am not mind over matter. I'm faith over fear is what I am. And I believe that God has helped me. My wife has helped me. And I kept myself occupied. I do stuff all the time. I'm sitting at my ranch in Colorado right now, and I'm getting ready to leave real soon here for 3 more weeks ahead of me in ministry opportunities. And then I head for Fort Worth. And I will have been out for 3 solid months without going on. I was in Branson just on the 4th of July weekend in Branson, and it was a hoot. I mean, we filled that stadium, that theater up. What a treat. Well, see, I can't get up in front of people like that and be a downer. I can't get up there and say, poor Dave, poor little me. I'll make fun of myself and have so much fun doing it that everybody else is relieved that I'm not self-conscious. What they don't know is sometimes the humor does cover some of my self-consciousness. I'm not a superhuman. I'm as much a human as anybody else. But whenever laughter and humor pushes out the darkness, then I'm better off and I'm a better man. And here's something I've learned. When you stare into the darkness too long, the darkness stares back into you. And that's when your last hope, and what is hope? It's the last line of defense against suicide. And suicide under COVID-19 has exploded in numbers. And right now, and I'm not discrediting my military people. I love them too much to ever do that. But I am not being given the current figures of suicide right now among our troops. It was one every day on an average. Now I'm guessing it's about 3 a day, every day. That's among the active duty. Among the retired, it was at 22 a day, and I'm betting it's twice that now. Out of fear, our Vietnam veterans in particular are the ripe age to contract it, and a lot of them are saying, I'm not going to wait for it to happen, I'm going to finish it now. And my job is to turn the light on in the world of darkness of our military and our retired heroes. And Doc, Jesus is still the answer.
And I couldn't agree with you more there. One of the things is that, I mean, what's a little challenging for me, I mean, you have people like yourself that are risking their life for our freedom, for our country. And here we are then creating legislative actions or ordinances where we are put into house arrest and we are losing all these freedoms, because of this threat. And to me, it's a little bit kind of a dishonor to all the people that have fought and laid their life, for this country, for this freedom that this country stands for. And now all of a sudden we are just letting that freedom go.
Yes, sir. And it was never more revealed, the deep, dark intent, and I think it's a deep state intent, to take away religious freedom. And here's how it was proven and uncovered when the Tennessee governor said, we're going to track all the cars that go to churches on Sunday. We're going to take down their license number so we can track them during the week and prevent them from going to church. And then you get Governor Newsom in California saying, you can't go to church and sing. You can't go to church and sing? Are you kidding me? I can tell you right now, every freedom that you refer to, these freedom of speech, press, religion, right to assemble peaceably, all the freedoms, they're being threatened, and in these so-called peaceable peaceable assemblies, rioting is taking away the intent of what it should have been. There's so much deception going on right now, Doc. You know it, I know it, and I'm going to give credit to the populace of the United States of America that we are a lot smarter than the government thinks we are. We're seeing right through this veil of deceit and what they're trying to do. But the Bible says these days would come, and in doing so, it takes away my fear, because I know, Dr. Michael, you know, and a bunch of your listeners know who's really in charge. And it's not a politically appointed position of any man, woman, or child in any country of the earth. God is in control, and that is why I have no fear. Amen?
Amen. And I love what you're saying, that it's faith instead of fear. And that creates, because like we're saying, we're pulled in so many different directions. We're afraid of this and that. But then to recognize what truly is, that to really hold on to that faith and know what is important. It's not whether we live or die. Like in your situation, you were facing that too many times. But it is who you are in that process. And that's much more important, who you're walking with.
Yes, sir. I think maybe in Vietnam, during every firefight I went through, and this is not a hero talking, this is old Dave talking, I don't ever remember thinking I'm going to get killed. It never entered my mind that I'm going to get killed. And when that grenade exploded and blew off half my flesh, even then, Doc, I didn't think I was going to die. And when I crawled up on the bank of the river, a scripture went through my mind from the book of Philippians, chapter 1, verse 21. For to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. But the die is gain faded away in my remembrance of that scripture. And I just kept saying over and over, to live is Christ, to live is Christ. And in all of my 60 operations to this day, I do not ever remember thinking I'm not going to come out of this one. I never fear death. And it's not because of heroism. It's because I've faced the death angel so many times. We're on first name basis. He calls me Dave, and I call him ugly.
I love it. We're going to take a quick break. I'm here with Dave Roever. You're listening to Healthmade Radio. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Healthmade Radio. I'm Dr. Michael Karlfeldt. I'm here with Dave Roever, and we are listening to powerful story about resilience, how to push through, and how to survive times that are not easy at all. I would love to have you kind of explain to the listeners, because it's one thing you're talking about, you hit a grenade, and I mean. Your flesh was burned off. You lost your eye. You lost your ear, your nose. You lost all these things. How did the process to get back? I mean, you were at that hospital, and your skin was charred, and was the healing process easy? I mean, had you already gone through the bad? The event in itself was really bad, but the healing process, was that an easy process?
I can tell you that along the way, God didn't depend on Brenda alone, and it wasn't any individual by themselves that made the single difference. The most difference was made by God and Brenda, of course. But I'd like to, in this segment, tell a story of one of the most amazing moments of my life. And lest I lose an audience before we're finished, would it be okay if I let them know how to get hold of me by email, online? Can I do that?
Please, absolutely. Please, whichever way where they can gain access to all the
yes, sir. It's real simple, real easy. Uppercase, lowercase, doesn't matter. Help, HELPAVET, helpavet.com. If you go to that, it'll open up all the information, and you can go to how to buy our material. And if you ever want to contribute to a 501c3 called Operation Warrior Reconnect, just go to helpavet.com, and you can help pay the bill that makes me available to help these guys that have been so devastated. But I want to tell the story, and that's, again, one more time, helpavet.com. I want to tell the story what happened when they got me to Brooke Army Medical Center following the initial injury in Vietnam. They flew me from Vietnam to Japan. It was there I tried to take my life, and scolding me, they said, we're going to send you to America, live or die, you're gone. And they got me to America, to Brooke Army Medical Center, via a big hospital airplane the Air Force flew. And in sorry about that, we're on radio control here. I can turn this off real quick.
No worries.
In the hospital at Brooke Army Medical Center, I was put into a tank called a Hubble tank. And that Hubble tank was probably 6 or 8 inches of pure saline water, and they splash that up on your charred body. And it softens the charcoal your flesh turned to, and they can break it off, they can cut it off. I won't make anybody sick, but I'm going to tell you, it's called debridement. It's 10 times worse than being burned. It is unspeakably painful. And the first time they did that to me, I went insane with the pain, and I reached up. There were 6 people that were physician assistants working on me, and I grabbed that one nurse by the hair of her head. I flipped her into that tank, and that tank of water now, with me in it, rose from about 8 inches to maybe a foot of water. I had her head down in that water. I was trying to drown her. I was trying to kill her. I thought, my brain said, she's killing you, fight for your life. Well, she had 5 more people right there. She was never in danger of losing her life. But it's a wonder she didn't lose her mind. They got her out, and now her white uniform is pink with my diluted blood. Her hair is my skin is all in her hair, and she wipes her face in her hands and goes right back to work on me, trying to save my life. And my heels and the back of my head were all that were touching. I was in convulsions. My hands were extended up. I was grabbing for people, trying to fight my way back. And they said he's had enough, and they took me out of that tank. And the medic was pushing me down to what was called ICU, and we called it death row because we were in there to die, and we all knew it. But they were still trying to save our lives. And on the way to the ICU, the medic said, in the morning at 8:30, we're going to do this again. I said, you're not going to do this to me. Nobody, the entire Army's not big enough to do this to me again. You'll never hurt me like that. And he said, well, then, of course, you'll die. Well, I didn't want to hear that either. So I said, well, let's negotiate it. And he said, what do you mean? I said, if you're going to hurt me like this again tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning, don't tell me. Surprise me. Let's keep it a secret. And he said, what's the difference? I said, here's the difference. I'm not going to sleep all night. I'm going to go through anxiety attacks all night knowing that you're coming to get me in the morning. And that gurney had a wobbly wheel on it, sounded like a Walmart shopping cart. And the next morning I heard that thing coming down the corridor. I went into a panic attack. I knew the hell I was about to go into. And sure enough, when he got there, I was beside myself. And they pushed the gurney up beside the bed. But Dr. Michael, they forgot to lock the wheels. And when they got on each end of the sheets and swung me over, the gurney started rolling, and they dropped me between the gurney and the bed. And I threw my arms out trying to hold on to the gurney, but my feet had already hit the ground, and now I'm slipping, and the rest of me is about to hit the floor. And I thought, oh, Lord, this is going to hurt, and heck, it's going to leave a mark. And I didn't need any more marks. Half my body is marked. And a man stepped up, and I wish I could tell the whole world this, Dr. Michael. A man stepped up from nowhere. He was 6'7", 350 pounds, a solid human specimen of perfection. When he moved, his muscles turned into cannonballs. They popped up all over his chest, his arms, and he put his right arm under my head. And I looked up in the face of a man. He was bald, he was black, and his name was tattooed on his shoulder and on his right arm, and it said Rosie. His name was Rosie. And he reached down with his other arm and like a forklift, picked me up bodily, held me against his chest, and turned. He did not put me on the gurney. He carried me all the way to the opposite end of that hospital, to that ward, to that burn unit where they skinned us alive. And he put me in the tank of water, and they went to work. They went to work. And they were skinning me, literally skinning me alive. I'm insane. It hurt so bad. And he reached back in that tank, and he picked me back up, and he held me, and he looked me in my eyes, and he turned, and every step he walked back to that place we call death row, the intensive care unit. Every step he took, he said, You'll be fine, big man. You'll see. You'll be fine. You'll be fine, big man. You'll see. You'll be fine. I'm not exaggerating a word or understating a word. That's exactly what he said. And nothing but that. All the way to my room, laid me down to the bed and extracted those forklift arms, turned and looked me right in the face and said it again. You'll be fine, big man. You'll see. Then he reached up and touched a little piece of hair that on the back left side of my head had somehow survived the damage. Just a little piece. And he stroked it with a mother's love, and he did something I've never let a man do in my life. He kissed me on the forehead, and he said it one last time. You'll be fine, big man. You'll see. You'll be fine. Now, if you go forward 20 years, I'm speaking for the Oregon State Air National Guard, and it's a 20,000 attendance event on 4th of July. And that was 30 years ago now, but it was 20 years after my injury. And I finished speaking, everybody's leaving, and a woman walked up, very elegant, dressed in a fine business suit, kind of a little streak or two of gray in her hair. She was about 10 years older than me. Very beautiful woman. And she said to me, "You're Dave, right?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "But that's not your real name. Your real name is David." I said, "Why, yes. Anybody can figure that out." She said, "But that's your middle name." Now, not many people would know that. She said, "Your first name is Milton, right?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Milton David Roever, R-O-E-V-E-R." I said, "Yes, who are you?" She said, "I'm the nurse you pulled into the tank." Oh, my Lord, I was so embarrassed, Dr. Michael. She said, "I thought it was you, but I didn't recognize you with your clothes on." Holy cow, I was laughing so hard I was in tears. And then I said, "Madam, do you remember a man named Rosie?" She staggered under the sound of that name. She looked at me and she said, "I haven't thought of him in decades." I said, "Ma'am, do you know where he is today?" She said, "No idea." I said, "Do you know where he came from? Maybe he's there." She said, "I have no idea." I said, "Do you know what his real name was?" She said, "All I ever knew was Rosie." I said, "Well, when did he come to Brooke Army Medical Center, Burn Ward?" Without a pause, she said, "When you did." I said, "When did he leave?" She said, "When you left." All my friends say he was a ministering angel from God. I don't know, and I almost hope not, because angels are on assignment. But if he was a man on a mission, he didn't have to be there. He chose to be there, and he didn't care what color I was. He didn't care what rank I was. He didn't care what service I was serving in. He didn't care about anything but one thing and one thing only. I was hurting, and he could help me. And to this day, I search every audience I speak in for a black man named Rosie. I haven't found him, and I guess maybe he could be an angel, but I didn't know that angels had tattoos. That's a big one for me to figure out. But Dr. Michael, no man is an island. We're never an island under our own unit, our own self. We are part of the greatest picture on all the faces of every planet in the universe. We are earthlings. We are humans. And it doesn't matter the color, the creed. All that matters is when we're hurting, we're there for each other. And if we love each other as ourselves, we will have done the most important thing in life we could do, and then to love God with all of our heart and might and strength. And Dr. Michael, I love you, sir, and I look forward to the day we can meet. And anybody that wants to get hold of me can get hold of me through helpavet.com. And thanks for letting me share that. They can get my books. I got an autobiography called Scarred and a book called War and Recovery. And I got a video from a church called Gateway Church in Dallas Fort Worth. It's a huge 33-something thousand people in that one community, and they made the best video of my story ever done I could ever hope for. Thanks for letting me mention all that, sir.
Absolutely, and it's such. I mean, one thing is that when people realize that they are in the deepest despair, that angels do appear. They
yes, sir.
do. God brings people in that will take you through, that allow you to make that leap into healing. And then also that it is, I mean, these scars, you worked hard for these scars, and these scars, they are blessings. I mean, can you imagine the amount of people that you have touched, you as one individual, because of these scars and how important they are?
Well, you know who I got my example from, don't you? He was scarred too. And scars have a story to tell. They're not, you don't get scarred on purpose, you get scarred accidentally. Tattoos tell stories, but that's intentional. A scar is three things, sir. I figured out three things wrapped up in one. The one thing is evidence. Scars are evidence you got hurt. Scars are evidence you got over it, because if you didn't get over it, you still have an open, hemorrhaging wound that can kill you. So a scar is evidence you got hurt. It's evidence you got over it. And listen to this last one. A scar is evidence of empathy. When I say to somebody, I know how you feel, and they've been burned and they are scarred, they look at me, and my scars are evidence of empathy. When I say I know how you feel, they know that I know how they feel. And I've never said to somebody who's been divorced, I know how you feel. I don't know that feeling. God forbid, I hope I never know it. And at 53 years of marriage now, I don't think we're going to quit now. But Dr. Michael, for all of those that have been hurt in life, those that are suicidal, those that have a low self-esteem, I fought through all that stuff. And I can tell them, I know how they feel. But laughter and humor and joy, the joy of the Lord is my strength. I tell everybody I used to think I was fat, ugly, and stupid, and my wife told me I was not stupid. Kind of fat and ugly out there, but it was the start. Laugh, have fun in life, look for the bright side. There's joy in knowing Christ and being able to be a blessing to other people. Be a giver, not a taker. Always look for those that are broken that you can help mend and fix. That's the way I believe it, and that's the way I try to live it.
Well, I'm so grateful for the message that you're bringing forth, the hearts that you touch, and you know, just who you are as a person, to rise above everything that you've dealt with, and then being able to use that to help other people to connect with who they are and their connection with God, and I'm really, really grateful for that. Thank you so much, Dave, for taking the time today and sharing your powerful message on my show today.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. It's been a joy. I hope to hear from him at healthavet.com. God bless you, Doc.
God bless you. That is it for today. You're listening to Healthmade Radio. Remember to check us out at healthmade.co. Health is what you make it.